Hello and welcome to Pressing Buttons, your podcast about video games. I'm Hugo,
I'm Nick.
and it's wonderful to have you once again, episode 17. We're chugging along, making some good content for you guys. Another week gone by. Thanks for joining us. As always, we like to make these episodes just for you and us because we like to hear ourselves sometimes. But yeah, another week, and thanks for the support. Still chugging along in the community in the Discord. Make sure you're signed up and you're active in the community. We have a lot of good gamers out there that love sharing their stories, love playing games. So make sure you're always in tune with the Discord. You can also get a lot of news from us on the Discord. Any special things that we might be doing, especially with the shirts coming up, merchandise, that sweet, sweet loot that everybody loves. So make sure you guys are subscribing on all the channels, whether it's Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and then that you're also participating in the Discord community because you will definitely get a good surprises out of it and it'll be worth your while.
Yeah, I just can't believe that we have so many episodes now that Hugo actually forgot that we're on episode 18, not episode
Fuck.
17.
Fuck. Ugh. I'm bad with numbers. Look at that. All right, you know
Yeah.
what?
No,
Let's do that
I
again.
think I like that. I like it's just,
Yeah,
we've done so many.
and you know what it is? It's just like I always prep myself whenever I start these things. It's like, what do I need? What should I say in the beginning? What should be my intro? And I know I get teased a lot by you, by our Discord community. Whenever I'm in the channel, somebody likes to come in and be like, "Hello and welcome to Pressing Buttons," and imitate my voice. So that just means you guys love me. They hate me because they love me, or they imitate me because they love me. But yeah, episode 18 of Pressing Buttons. Welcome. This is where the real show starts. But yes, don't forget to subscribe wherever you can and continue supporting us. And we appreciate the love. And yeah, we're just going to dig right into the news of the week for video games. First, the big major news that we want to talk about was Epic and Microsoft announcing that you are now able to play Fortnite, whether it's on iOS, Android phone, tablets, Windows PC. You can play them through the Xbox Game Cloud for free. What this essentially means is that you can just go online to xbox.com/play, sign in with your Microsoft account, and you'll be able to play Fortnite through your browser, which is amazing for two reasons, I think. For two major reasons. The first being that you can now just basically play anywhere. You can play on your tablet, you can play on your phone, you can play on your computer, on your laptop, or whatever, without having to have like a full system, which is great because not everybody can afford a full system, whether it's a PlayStation or an Xbox or even a Switch or a PC. So that's great in itself. And then the other reason, which I think it's more for Epic, is that they can kind of circumvent that 30% fee that Apple charges and for being able to host a game. I think this is great for gamers everywhere, just because I know that this just being a new feature that they started offering, it'll be available for a bunch more games down the line, especially free-to-play games that people will enjoy. What did you think of this news?
Yeah, that's cool. It's if you're an iOS only mobile user, you haven't been able to play Fortnite for quite some time. I think going back to like 2020. So I think this is going to be pretty big. I guess Epic working with Microsoft, they've found a solution to get around the App Store. And there's a whole big kind of legal battle that's happening between Apple and Epic. So it's great if you're an iOS user and really like Fortnite. You now can play the game again. So I'll be curious to see what happens with Fortnite performance metrics in terms of monthly active users and revenue and all that, and see if that actually kind of starts growing as a result of this service. So pretty cool stuff. I'm pro cloud. Just like I think it's it's something that's going to happen. It's going to continue to grow. It's going to grow the overall audience base for gamers. I'll personally like use it maybe sometimes, but I'll probably continue being like a I have a heavy duty local, gaming PC, and that'll be my primary way of playing games. But in terms of thinking about the game sector more broadly, like I do think cloud is going to be a pretty big driver of growth in that space. Um, so yeah, and I think Microsoft's been pushing it a lot. So this is just yet another example of Microsoft really focusing on this strategy as free to play games, I think, continue to grow in number. I think you're going to see a lot more games popping up on this xbox.com/play site where you can just go there through your web browser, play a game, and it's pretty easy. So I actually tested it out on my work computer. I think it's fine. Like it was pretty easy. Like I happened to already have a Microsoft account. I went to the site, logged in, connected my Epic Game Store account. Was able to jump into a game pretty quickly. I think the only thing that, which I'm sure they'll fix over time, but I was only able to use a controller, so I couldn't use a mouse and keyboard even though I was playing from a desktop. So I'm pretty sure they'll update that over time. But so maybe that was a bit of a bummer. And then the performance I thought was like okay for cloud. Like obviously it's not gonna kind of compare with the local RTX 3080. But if you're coming from mobile, I thought that was probably like a pretty comparable experience. So yeah, it worked pretty well. And those are my impressions.
Well, I agree with you because I think Microsoft hit the nail on the head in terms of what their outlook for the future is. We know that one big component is Game Pass, which they've pushed a lot of, but the other component is the cloud gaming, which when they announced the Xbox One S and the Xbox One was a big component of that, just because the Xbox One S not having as much capabilities as the Xbox One X was a big pushing force for cloud gaming. And also, I know like Sony some uses some of Microsoft's cloud gaming tech because they want to use that as well in the future. So kudos to them for pushing this, partnering with Epic themselves. Epic being as a big company as they are, which we've talked about the last couple of weeks. I feel like every episode we've done the last 5 to 6 weeks, we've mentioned Epic in some form in there just because they have like their hands in a lot of things, which is good. It's good for the gaming industry to have a company as big as Epic pushing the boundaries and pushing what the next future of video games are. I myself, I also agree with you. I think cloud gaming should definitely be the future. If it makes it easier for any gamer to pick up a game and play anywhere, whether it's on the laptop, on a tablet, on your phone, or whatever, I'm all for it. Hopefully the technology itself can hold up. Like you said, you tried it a little bit. I haven't tried it myself, but with things like these, especially in the beginning, being early adopters, you always worry about like, is there going to be stuttering? Is there going to be lag like that? And no, we have Stadia itself from Google, which dead system. I'm sorry, Mitch, it's a dead system. Our one friend that has Stadia, Mitch, is always pushing Stadia, but it wasn't marketed very well. It wasn't supported very well, I think. And it was a niche project for Google, which I think kind of led to its downfall, even though it's still active. It's not fully down. But seeing somebody like Microsoft, a big gaming company, a company with their Xbox division that does push video games as a primary thing, I think it's in much better hands than something like Stadia was, and it'll get more support. Because I know you had, I think you had Valhalla, Odyssey. I think you had Odyssey that you were able to play through Stadia streaming. You did like a trial for that, and that ran pretty well.
Yeah, it was cool. I think I think that was like the beta early access before it was even branded Stadia, I think. But yeah, the technology was was very impressive. I think that playing that game, I think I would say probably was like a better performer versus what I just played with Fortnite. But there's like a bunch of confounding factors there. Um, so it's kind of hard to draw like a direct comparison. But I was always like very impressed by the technology of Stadia, and it was just a question of can they actually get enough content on there and create like a compelling offering. So I feel like they had maybe kind of like a confusing business model for consumers that didn't quite really understand like how to buy games and what happens and all that. So, but yeah, I was always a fan of the tech. I think they're kind of de-emphasizing the consumer Stadia offering. I think they are exploring other more like commercial applications of the technology, so I wouldn't be surprised if they find some other use for it. But yeah, I think Stadia as like a consumer thing is pretty much dead. So I think that'll probably end up being a smaller number of people than the Wii U even.
Well, it also, which just came into my mind, it also makes you wonder if a company like Sony or something like that can kind of come in and use that tech that Google has and use it for their own purposes. I mean, you have so many cloud streaming services now. You have like GeForce Now, you have the Xbox Cloud streaming, you have Stadia, and so on and so on. I think it's just a matter of putting the piece of the puzzle where it fits, where it can get utilized the most. So maybe this something like this will open the door for Google to maybe not merge, but maybe collaborate with somebody like Sony. And it's like, hey, you can use our tech for your cloud streaming stuff instead of the Microsoft stuff, or another company, or maybe something like
Yeah,
Steam.
maybe I don't know. I think Sony did enter into some sort of strategic partnership with Microsoft, so I wouldn't expect them to then like kind of move to Google, who seems to be kind of like hot and cold with whether they actually like want to be in gaming or not. Whereas Microsoft's very clearly going into gaming and is going to make sure that all their cloud applications are going to be, uh, you know, best in class as it relates to gaming experiences. So I think that'll probably stick. And yeah, you don't really have too many options really. I mean, it's basically Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Nvidia also has some cloud services, so you don't really have too many options. And I think Sony was just like, oh, let's just go with the one that's super focused on gaming because that makes sense. Um, and what's so kind of fascinating about that is I think Sony was actually like an early adopter or like an early mover into the cloud space. They acquired a company called Gaikai like a pretty long time ago, and I think that was kind of the foundation for the PS Now service. And I think they just probably couldn't figure out the economics to actually scale that. So I think they're going to be much better off working with someone like Microsoft to be able to actually like drive that experience to customers.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like with things like these, like the Sony Microsoft partnership, to be able to incorporate the cloud gaming, it's one of those things where they wouldn't mention right off the bat, oh, this was done in collaboration with Microsoft, and it features cloud. So it's one of those things where when you hear about it or something like this pops up, you have to do a little bit of research. It's like, oh, this is cloud gaming. I wonder if it's done with Microsoft or anything like that. But it's definitely a good move for the future of gaming. And I'm pretty sure down the road, especially probably this year, we'll see more. Them being a lot more gamers at home. The gaming market has definitely expanded more the last couple of years. I'm pretty sure we'll see more news in terms of companies partnering with some sort of cloud streaming thing to offer their content better. And especially Fortnite being like the first one, you can kind of see maybe Minecraft will be something like they can bring up. Something maybe like Apex Legends, which is another free to play online shooter. Just it opens up the window just for all types of games to be offered, especially free to play games. It's become a very heavy market. A lot of people love free to play games, and it kind of gets them in the door to spend money, even though they're free.
Yeah, I think we always, we've been gamers for as long as we can remember, and it was just kind of like part of the experience was buying a $300 to $500 system just to be able to play the games. And I think sometimes we kind of lose. It's like, okay, that's actually like that's a lot of money, and not everyone wants to deal with that like significant upfront cost. So I think cloud gaming basically gets around that. And you've seen versions of that with mobile, right? I mean, mobile. There's a reason why mobile's so big. It's because people already have the phone and they're now able to play some games. So if you can imagine getting, console game experiences onto mobile phones via cloud technology, like I think that's going to be pretty big.
Yeah, all right. I can't wait to see what they come up with, and I'm gonna try this out myself this week, and I'll also give my impression, see how it runs. I've been meaning to get into some Fortnite and see the new no build mode, so we'll just wait and see.
Yeah, well, you play with a controller, right? That was my only thing where I'm so used to playing mouse and keyboard, and I had to play with a PlayStation controller, and it was rough.
Oh,
It
you
was
say that
for
like
me.
you were getting tortured.
I mean, yeah,
I mean, I have been getting heckled this week about using a mouse and keyboard. Maybe I'll try it out. We'll see. I
for
still
not
love.
using one or for using one.
Oh, for not using one.
Oh, I mean, I've been heckling you for years about that, so I don't know
Yeah,
what
but
happened this week.
I don't listen to your heckling. I was playing. We were playing Destiny, and we were doing a PvP, and one of our friends was transitioning to mouse and keyboard, and he wasn't playing as good as he plays on a controller. So I was like, "This is competitive PvP. Stop using a mouse and keyboard because you're learning. Use your controller." And he didn't want to switch. Ace, he was like, "I'm trying to get good," and I'm like, "Well, get good on your own time, not when we're trying to win shit." But I do want to get good with mouse and keyboard, but it's just am I too old at this point? Can't teach an old dog new tricks. You know what I'm saying?
I believe just how I converted you to an MMO player
Well,
will convert you into a mouse and keyboard player.
yeah, which is also funny because I feel like MMOs would work
Yeah,
better
how
with
how do you play?
the
Yeah, like you're playing.
MMOs work better with
What?
mouse and keyboard, and I'm over here using a controller.
Unbelievable.
uh,
We gotta.
uh,
Now you're just pissing me off. We gotta move on to the next topic.
Yeah, I'm too hardwired. Well, real quick before we move on to that, there were also some reports coming out saying that down the line later this year that Microsoft is gonna bring the Xbox streaming to TVs. They're doing like a partnership with Samsung to be able to offer apps within their TVs so they can do the streaming and then also have like their own standalone device like a Chromecast, a Roku, or a Fire Stick, but just like the Microsoft Xbox version so they can do the cloud streaming. So that'll, like you said, make it more accessible. You don't have to worry about having to purchase this console or anything like that, or having some high-end expensive phone or anything like that. Um, do you think this will be a good drive for
Oh
people? It
yeah,
will get people
yeah,
in the door?
yeah. No, I think this was inevitable. Just with all these types of devices for video streaming, I think we've now gotten to the point where most current uh, TVs have like smart TV capabilities, and all of these video streaming apps like Netflix are built in, and they perform pretty well. I actually don't know, more from like a technical perspective, whether like an xCloud app could just as easily work on modern TVs, or if that maybe takes some time for them to build up to that. But it sounds like Samsung is going to make sure that it works natively with their TVs, and it'll perform well. But if you have a TV that either doesn't have the app natively, or uh, well, I guess just that, you're going to need to buy some sort of dongle accessory. So I don't know, call it like $60 or something like that to be able to buy one of those and plug it into your TV. You get xCloud on your TV. It connects to whatever controller you want. So they probably bundle it with a controller as well. Um, would be my guess. And yeah, the cost of entry is should be less than $100, which is much cheaper than $400. So I think that's definitely going to be a pretty popular offer.
I think it'll
And
be.
then they'll probably also bundle like 1 to 3 months free of Xbox Game Pass. It's like it's so a lot of people have been focused on Game Pass, including myself. But I've always viewed like the future as it's really Game Pass and XCloud are kind of working in concert with each other. Like I think that those are going to be the combination of those two things is going to be a key growth driver for Microsoft.
Well, I think it's going to be like a good stocking stuffer because the way it looks like it's going to be towards the end of the year, good for Christmas, big old bundle. And like you said, it's going to be much easier if they just have like a bundle with the device, a controller, and then you're working right off the bat. All right, and then the next big piece of news that we want to talk about was Square Enix selling some of its studios off to Embracer Group, which is this big gaming conglomerate. Square Enix came into agreement. They sold off Eidos, the makers of Hitman, Crystal Dynamics as well, who do Tomb Raider, and Square Enix Montreal. This is big news in terms of it's one, it being Square Enix such a big heavy publisher, they don't really have a big Western studio presence. This you would say are more of their Western studios, selling that off. Also big in terms of the studios that were sold off, which is like I said, Eidos, Crystal Dynamics, and Square Enix Montreal, who make such great franchises as Tomb Raider. Great series, great reception when the games come out, even though they just announced a new one too as well that's coming out. Idols who make Hitman, another great series and franchise that has been getting great reviews the last couple of years. Deus Ex, Thief, all that stuff. It's a big catalog. They got sold for about $300 million to the Embracer Group, which in itself has the last couple of years bought a lot of other studios. They're becoming massive themselves. It was a big shocking to the industry, especially because they did it to kind of get into the blockchain game, which is, I'm like, what? What is blockchain? But whatever, that's another
Yeah,
thing. Uh,
yeah. I
Tell
think I
me
think
about
that
it.
was like, yeah, that was one of the rationales for why they sold these studios and IP is basically to raise money or to get capital to then invest into blockchain games and NFTs and all that. So, which I think there's probably some truth to that, but I think also I think there's maybe two other things in play. I think one is they might just be kind of thrown in the towel on their ability to manage Western studios, and then maybe related to that is I think some of the games like haven't been as commercially successful as they wanted. So I think those studios maybe are not as profitable or performing as well as maybe some of the other uh, studios that Square Enix manages. So I think it's maybe like a confluence of can we manage Western studios even if we think we're doing a good job of that. The studios aren't performing very well financially. We need money to invest in these other types of new games that we think are actually going to have a lot of growth potential in the future. So I think it's maybe those kind of three things in play. Um, and yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of reacting to the purchase price as being like, oh my god, it's a fire sale, and yeah, I guess it's maybe like on like the low end of the range, given like all these like mega deals that are happening. But then you just have to think, uh, like like if no one else wanted to buy these studios, and if Square Enix didn't want to own them anymore, so it's like I think that kind of puts the purchase price range into like a particular place. So maybe that's why maybe it's on the lower end of the range. But so I don't know. those are kind of my initial takeaways. I think for me, it's just I thought it kind of made sense for Square Enix, just because I know they've been having some issues or challenges, I should say, with like making sure these studios are delivering games that are, exceeding expectations. Uh, to me, it's just like taking a step back and be like, oh my god, Embracer Group is enormous. Like they've just been gobbling everything up, and they're now probably like one of the biggest players in the AAA game space. And then you just start have to like asking questions around like how are they doing that? Like how can they manage all of these studios successfully at scale? And so I just need to do a little bit more research on kind of what their approach is, like whether it's just everyone's autonomous and does their own thing, and we just hook them up with capital and resources and stuff like that, or is there something more to it where kind of like what Sony's doing, right? Where they've been acquiring studios and we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna build this network of people sharing best practices. And I think that was a big hypothesis with why they acquired Bungie. It was they're best in class with live services games. We want to be able to harvest that knowledge and deploy that to other studios. Like so is that like part of what Embracer's doing? Like I'm just not sure. So, but yeah, they got some crazy big numbers. I think they'll have about like 14,000 employees according to their press release. So it's big network.
Yeah, I mean it's surprising, like you said, it just came out of nowhere. But they have been known the last couple of years to just like make these acquisitions. They're not spending billions of dollars, you would say. It's in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Still a good substantial amount of money, but it's like on the quiet end. I know they purchased THQ when THQ was selling all its stuff a couple of years back. In other studios, but they'll step in now every now and then. You kind of got to keep an eye out because they are becoming a major player in the publishing industry, just with the amount of studios that they have, and now with the catalog of intellectual properties that they're going to have. Honestly, going back to the point where you were saying the reason why maybe Square Enix sold off these studios, and I agree with you totally in both parts. The first part being that they just couldn't, manage the Western studios. It was kind of hard. We do know that the Square Enix recipe, you would say, for how they develop games and how they publish games and how they market games and stuff like that is a certain niche. It doesn't work in the game studios industry as much as it works for Square Enix, just because they've been such a stable franchise, a stable publisher for so long, going back to them being Squaresoft and stuff like that. They were probably trying those practices on with these new updated studios, and it didn't work as well. And then the other thing being the title's not doing so well. Honestly, you have like Tomb Raider. They probably thought that it was underwhelming. You have Deus Ex, which was critically acclaimed. They thought it was underwhelming. Maybe they just see the standard of success a little bit different. It was interesting that even though that they sold a lot of the studios and IPs, you do have like they still own Outriders. They own the franchise and stuff like that, because they don't own People Can Fly, which is the developers that made it. So they're still holding on to that IP. They're also holding on to Life is Strange, and I believe they're holding on to the Marvel stuff. I'll have to check on that, but it's definitely, I think, just two different working philosophies from different studios. We do know that Eidos and Crystal Dynamics, their games get critical reception. Hitman has been getting great reviews. The reboots, especially the last three, have been getting a lot of awards. They've done really well, but the standards, I guess, that Square Enix is looking for aren't holding up. I mean, they were disappointed with the sales of Guardians of the Galaxy, which we both enjoyed. We thought that was a good game. They were disappointed with the numbers of Outriders. That didn't hold up. and they were disappointed with Marvel's Avengers. That was a valid disappointment because the game itself wasn't that great and the sales weren't that great, especially for something like Marvel's Avengers, which everybody should love and would want to play. And you kind of want to see where this goes in terms of who's going to take over things like that and who's going to bring maybe fresh new ideas to that and try to revitalize those franchises. So I think Square Enix is just kind of set in their RPG ways. They should stick to the RPGs. Not saying that they can't do anything else, but I think they should kind of just stick to keep developing these RPGs that people love, keep making new RPGs that people will love, and just it's working for them. Don't try to push to their other studios because the same working mechanics might not work, especially with two different cultures. So I think if they acquire any more studios in the future, they should kind of just leave them be and just let them make their magic and do whatever they need to do.
Yeah, no, it's something I might kind of dig into more from like a macro numbers perspective is, when Square Enix acquired Western studios, they probably did that with the understanding that the U.S. market, or like the North American video games market, was growing like crazy and was becoming much, much larger than it was in Asia, or maybe specifically Japan, but probably Asia more broadly, excluding China. But I wonder if that's kind of reverting a bit, where I think you're seeing a ton of growth in Asia, particularly with mobile games, particularly all these like blockchain and NFT play to earn games. Like they're just growing like crazy in Asia. So maybe they're seeing that, and they've specifically said that they want to invest into that space and create games with blockchain in mind. So maybe that's like in addition just to like cultural differences and maybe some of the output of the Western studios not performing as well. Like maybe they're just kind of looking to the future and seeing there being like tons of opportunity, kind of focusing on Asian markets. And then, of course, there's a huge audience of people, including both of us, who love all the stuff that they're already doing with Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Kingdom Hearts. So those audiences will exist, but maybe they're just looking to all these like new types of games, and that's growing a ton in Asia right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can only wait and see what the future holds, especially now that they've separated. Maybe this will just give Square Enix more of an opportunity to focus on their franchises and not worry too much about all the other publishers that developers that they own and their work and all that stuff. And speaking of Square Enix franchises, we got some news from the recent Nier Automata 20th anniversary presentation that they did recently, which we were both happy about. And the news was that Final Fantasy 16 is basically almost done. I say almost just because you don't know until it's gone gold. There's still a lot of stuff that could be worked out, but the producer himself, Yoshi P, said that basically it's done. They're gonna throw out a new trailer pretty soon, which we can both kind of guess it's gonna be done for the summer, for June or something like that, since that's when the big conferences are going to be. The big gaming convention is going to be Games Fest and all that. They basically said that it's done, the story's done, the gameplay's done. I'm excited for this. Like I said a couple episodes ago, I'm waiting for some Final Fantasy 16 news. I'm ready to play the next single player mainline Final Fantasy game. Are you excited? Is this? I guess you're looking forward to this.
Yeah, I was going to try to make something up about me not being excited, but I'm excited. Yeah, it's kind of funny how we've been getting Final Fantasy 16 news out of these like random, like this. Nier Automata has, or just Nier just doesn't really have anything to do with it other than it being like a Square Enix thing. And then I think we had some news a week or two ago that he like kind of leaked with like something about Uniqlo. Yeah, it was like Uniqlo. They're doing Final Fantasy branded T-shirts through Uniqlo, and he like made some comment about Final Fantasy development. So, by the way, have you seen those shirts from Uniqlo? I was actually deeply disappointed.
Yeah, they're
There's
just
like
basic
maybe
shirts.
one, yeah.
They're
There's one
just
for each mainline Final Fantasy game,
yeah.
and like maybe the Final Fantasy VII one is like okay, but they're all kind of lame. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
that's why I kind of like to stick to. I have all the Final Fantasy 1 through I believe 12 is like the art books that they have. Amazon sold those big books just because I love the art, and I was kind of disappointed by that, by how that looked. I was like, okay,
yeah,
they could have been more interesting. Could have been more
it's
graphic.
so lame. But yeah, I'm excited. It sounds like we'll have a trailer by end of June, so that's cool. I'm surprised they said the game is done, because then, or like basically done, or whatever he said, because then you start thinking, oh well, that's got to be like a slam dunk holiday 2022 release. But I just, something in me tells me that that's just not coming out that soon. But um, we'll see. But it sounds like it'll be within the next 12 months. So whether if it's holiday, amazing. If it comes in Q1 or Q2 ish of next year, I think I'd still be happy with that.
Well, the thing is too that this looks like to be one of the fastest mainline Final Fantasy from announcement to release turnarounds, which is weird. I mean, we don't know how long they were working on it before the announcement. It was announced 2 years ago, and they're talking about being done, so that's pretty quick. It'll be interesting to hear, just like down the road when they talk about it more, like how long was it was actually in development before they announced it, and so on and so on. Because we know with these Final Fantasies, it's like they're working on something, but you don't know how long for. I mean, we're still waiting on the remake part 2, so that's another thing. I think it's a big banner year for Final Fantasy. It's the 35th anniversary of the series as a whole since it came out in Japan. So we're expecting a lot of news to come out in the summer regards to Final Fantasy VII remake part 2, Final Fantasy 16 obviously, maybe Final Fantasy 14 next expansion now that the main one Endwalker just finished and stuff like that. So bring it. We are both ready.
Bring it. Yeah, and I'm a Yoshi P fanboy, so there's part of me that wants Final Fantasy 16 just to be like an astronomical success, and then he just kind of gets even more influence and political capital at Square Enix, just to be able to do a lot more cool stuff with Final Fantasy, and maybe even other potential franchises. So
yeah, it's great that they've elevated him to a much higher position, giving him much power after how well of a job he did with Final Fantasy 14 and the whole reboot, the whole bringing that franchise back to life. Not franchise, bringing that series back to life after the disappointment that it was, and now working on 16, which they're happy about. So I'm all for it. You gotta promote those who do good. that was lame. Oh my god. Yeah.
I'm keeping that in, by the way.
Well, I will. I'll live with it. Promote those that do good. What the fuck? All right, so that does it for all the gaming news announcement that we wanted to talk about, and we're gonna move on straight to our closing thoughts. We're gonna start off with Nick because he's got some beefy thoughts this week.
Oh my god, we're starting with me?
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for this.
What do you mean you weren't ready for this? We talk about this.
I'm a man of tradition. It's like you always go first.
Do you want me to go first?
No, I'll go first.
Just let it flow. Just let it flow. Let it come to you.
Big pressure. Stranger Paradise. I gave a series of impressions last week. So I was able to complete that yesterday. So I beat the game. Uh, it gets so. My impressions from last week hold. Like I think it's a fun game. The story is like bad, but in a laughably enjoyable way. I had some issues with some of the like specific mechanics with like the loot and a couple other things. Like repetitive level design, but still enjoy the game. Got to see the credits. The ending gets pretty wild, so that's like I won't spoil anything, but the ending's pretty hype. So you have that to look forward to. Um, yeah, I think that's it. So I'd recommend the game if you like Souls-like games and Final Fantasy, and maybe you're like on a post Elden Ring, you know, sugar rush and need a
Withdrawal.
fix, yeah, or withdrawal, and then need something new. Like I think this would be a good option for you.
All right, I'm hyped.
Uh,
I'm excited to play it, and I guess
I know for a fact you'll love this game.
we'll definitely talk about it more than when I played it as well, and we can both just share our thoughts and all that stuff. So I'm excited now. I was
Cool.
excited. I'm more excited.
Cool. We I think the other thing. So now I'm looking for my next game. I think it's going to be two things. One will be Miles Morales. So Sony just recently rolled out the VRR patch, so I'm gonna check that out with Miles Morales. So that's kind of next in the queue. I fired up Genshin Impact for the first time in a couple years. I think there's a pretty big patch coming out soon. So I just wanted to kind of check it out again and see what the heck's going on in that game and see if that's something that I want to continue playing. So I picked that up. I think it's going to be those two games, and then if we ever get a chance to play Final Fantasy 14 together, that would be another
It's
thing
coming.
that
The
we
day
could
is
do.
coming.
Okay. Uh, and then more. I would say that's been kind of keep me occupied, and then I should have some interesting stuff next week. So I'm checking out Doctor Strange. So I got my tickets to see that tomorrow. Very excited about that movie. So I've been hearing some pretty good things. Uh, been
Yeah, I'm hyped.
getting spoiled like
Oh,
crazy. Like you basically can't be on the internet. So it's kind of annoying, but I think there's still plenty of shock and awe to happen tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited
I'm
about that.
I'm hyped for that one as well. I haven't booked any tickets or anything like that, but I will look into it soon to go and see it, especially because Sam Raimi being back to doing superhero movies, obviously him doing Spider-Man 1 through 3, kind of starting those being one of the first major acclaimed superhero movies, Spider-Man 2 being one of the best superhero movies, and also me just being like a Sam Raimi fan in general from like Evil Dead and stuff like that. I'm excited to see it, and just because it also looks like a different Marvel movie. It's a lot of people are saying it's like their first Marvel horror movie, so I'm excited to see that. Because you know my qualms with Marvel movies, how I think they're all cookie cutter, kind of like the same formula for everything, which I'll talk about that in a little bit on Moon Knight. But yeah, I'm
Oh,
excited. I'll see. I'll see if I get some tickets myself, and then maybe we can both talk about it.
cool. Cool. And then the only other thing was I finally got my shipping notification for the Playdate, which is that little tiny yellow portable gaming device with a crank on it. So I ordered one. I don't even know how long ago I ordered that, but it's had some kind of supply chain issues, and I'm gonna get that on Monday and give that a whirl. So I'll have some impressions on the Playdate next weekend as well.
Can't wait to see that. I mean, when you told me you ordered this thing, I was like, why? But
I'm not. Yeah, like I don't. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna hate it, but it was such a wacky thing that I was like, I gotta check it out at least. So
Well, we need you now to do content. So I'm putting out a challenge to you. You're gonna unbox this and put it up on YouTube for us. So, so our community can see it. They can go through Discord and click on that link, so they can check out the unboxing of Nick. No, not the unboxing of the Playdate by Nick.
The unboxing of Nick.
Yeah,
I mean, I can have the play date. I could be holding it. I can put myself into a box holding
that also
the play
works.
date. It's like a Russian nesting doll. And
That'll
then
be
someone and then someone can unbox me, and then I can come out and then unbox the play date.
there you go. That'll. I think that's better content
Is that
than a
is that
regular.
what you're asking me to do?
I need you to do that. I think that's a better content than the regular unboxing.
Okay, well, I'm not going to do that, but I'll do the regular unboxing.
Fuck. Oh, give the fans what they want. I'm pretty sure.
I'll
I'm pretty sure more
think-
people want that.
I'll think about it.
All right. So as far as closing thoughts for me, I've been playing a lot more Destiny. They have the Guardian Games seasonal event right now, which is basically they do this. They've done this the last 2 years. This would be the third year. It's basically a seasonal event where they pit all three main classes, the Hunter, the Warlock, and the Titans against each other, doing activities, and then you get medals at the end of the activities, and then you turn them in for your respective classes, and it's just basically kind of to see which class gets the most support, which is kind of cool. I main Hunter. Hunters are the best, I think. Other people have other opinions. Warlocks are cheesy. Fuck them. Titans are annoying. Fuck them too. It's funny though, because I have all three classes unlocked and I play with them, but Hunters are my main. That's always fun. It's fun to see the community just kind of band together and support their own class. And then I sent you a picture of a tankard that you get basically for participating in the event and then doing certain things. Bungie allows you to purchase like collectibles that you can get, and they had this sweet tankard which I sent you a picture of. I think it's amazing. I qualified for it, so I'm going to order that. The bad news is that it's going to take 6 to 8 months before it arrives, which sucks. But whenever that comes through, I will have it on the channel since I'm always drinking. I'm going to show it off. But yeah, if you're playing Destiny, join the event. It's pretty fun. If you're not, look it up. Look it up on Twitch. A lot of the streamers, Bungie partner with a lot of streamers to kind of keep the competitive vibes going. So check it out on Twitch and see who you're going to be rooting for. And then the other thing was still playing Final Fantasy 14. I am a level 12 warrior. Still loving the game. Really sad that we can't play together because you're never around. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Oh my god, you gotta watch the video podcast to see just how visibly upset I was with that statement.
We're gonna play together eventually, but I'm just trying to get good without you. So then when we play together, I'm good.
I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this game. I've completed the game, but I am not good at it. Like I'm awful at MMOs.
That's just me making excuses. I don't even know what getting good in this game means. But anyways, I'm enjoying the game. Like I said, I'm a level 52 warrior. I'm trying to get into either being a Dark Knight, which is basically another tank, which is pretty good, or Samurai. I unlocked the Samurai class for free, but now I got to kind of learn the combos and stuff. So I got to watch a couple videos because if you don't know the combos and stuff, it's a bit complicated, or you're not doing as much damage as you think you're doing. But I will tell you that even though I picked tank because of you accidentally, I have been enjoying myself as a tank because
I think it's just that can be, there's so much like responsibility when you're going into dungeons of like properly tanking. So
yeah,
I feel like maybe for like a beginner MMO that might have been like a tough class to start with, but I could see you definitely liking that for sure. So
funny story when it comes to that. I was doing a dungeon and I partied up with 3 random people and I'm just walking around and then just like fighting the monsters. And obviously the tank, you're supposed to be drawing the enemies to you and taking all the hits. And somebody's like texting in the party chat like, who sees a tank without like I forget the name of the ability, like their main like
It's like enmity or something. Like,
yeah,
or it's the thing that draws like aggro's
yeah. So I'm
enemies
like,
to you. Yeah.
so I wrote back like, dude, I just started playing this game. I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, yeah, sure. So he didn't even believe me. He thought I was just walking around being a dick and not being a tank. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But
I'm not even
I,
supposed to be here.
yeah, I Googled it. I ended up finding out what it is. And now I can properly be a tank. So whenever I'm doing dungeons, I'm properly taking all the damage and
Yeah.
keeping
So I think
keeping the enemies distracted.
I think in the early, so I think it gets more complex later in the game where you need like specific like tank strategies for certain bosses. But yeah, no, I think I could see you liking it. It just for a beginner MMO, I thought that might have been tough. But yeah, I think you're up to the
Yeah.
challenge. And then for what it's worth, I did the exact same thing where this was. I'm pretty sure this was also my first MMO, and I went into it like, I'm big sword guy. I just want to chop
Hit him with
people
the
up,
sword.
and yeah, and so I went my first ever dungeon. I was just like running around like an idiot and just hitting things, and people were like, what are you doing? Like you're like, they were like pulling me to specific places on the level where like I needed to stand and like telling me like, oh, activate this. So the
Yeah.
people were very helpful. Like so, actually, those even though I looked like a complete idiot, the people were so helpful. Where I really had like a good like positive like oh yeah like if I were to try to do that in some other MMO, I'm sure people would just be calling me,
Yeah.
every bad word under the sun and whatever. So it was
Well,
a good positive kind of community vibe that I got. So it was pretty cool.
it's one of those things with playing these two MMOs, playing Lost Ark and playing Final Fantasy 14, where you don't know these things, and I'm pretty sure they say it in the tutorials, but there's so many tutorials that you're like not looking for this. You're like, fuck this, I don't want to read anymore. Let me just play. But like you said, the community is really helpful. They've helped so much with the dungeons that I've done and stuff like that. So we will eventually play together and we'll see what it's all about. We're actually getting a good group on the Discord. I know Willie and Zach are like, hey, let's meet up. So it's kind of cool that we're talking about it, and it's kind of getting people that have played it like, hey, let us know when you guys are going to be on, and we'll join you. So if you want to play some Final Fantasy with us, maybe with me, if I eventually want to play with people, join the Discord and we'll we'll play together. And the last closing thought, which I want to talk about, was Moon Knight. And I don't know if you've seen Moon Knight. You haven't seen any
Nope, not
episodes. All right, so I don't want to. I'm not going to spoil it. It is a good show. It's I think a lot of Marvel TV shows are pretty good, but I would say it has the same problems that the other ones have, where they start strong and they kind of falter towards the end. I wouldn't say I disliked the ending, but I didn't think it was that impressive, especially because it was such a short series, being 6 episodes, and it was introducing a whole new superhero slash anti-hero, depending on how you see it. I think they did a good job where they didn't do a lot of exposition, where it's like introducing Batman for the freaking 20th time or something like that. I think they did a good take on introducing him, and I like the story. I just thought it didn't finish well. I wish the villain was a better villain, and I wish the end didn't finish as all Marvel shows finish, which is basically a big fight. Spoilers, it's a big fight. There's always a big fight at the end. That's why I always hold like Daredevil and Jessica Jones in such high regard, because I think they did it right with their villains and with their stories and just everything about the show. So I would recommend Moon Knight. I would recommend you watch it, especially if you love superhero shows and Marvel shows and stuff like that. Definitely recommend it. It just, expectations, don't raise them too high.
And did you watch Loki and WandaVision?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So same thing with WandaVision for those that have seen it or haven't seen it. I thought it was strong in the beginning, and then it kind of devolved into a big fight at the end. Loki was more, there wasn't a super big fight, so that was good. Captain America, in the Winter Soldier, shit the bed at the end as well. It's just they don't stick the landing too much. I need to get on like a I need to get on like a Marvel podcast and just rant about my dislike for Marvel or my because I like a lot of things about Marvel, but there's a lot of dislike. So if anybody wants to invite me to their podcast and talk about my dislike for Marvel stuff, let me know.
Okay, I can just probably create a Marvel podcast like tomorrow and invite you to it.
It's funny because you have the Silver Surfer and Thanos
Yeah,
behind
exactly.
you.
I got, what more do you need?
Well, I'm a DC guy, as you can see from my dark side head. But anyways, yeah, those are my closing thoughts. Check out Moon Knight, good show. Play some Destiny if you have it. See us in Final Fantasy. All right. Well, okay.
Strong rap. I mean,
Yeah.
what more is there to be said?
And then whatever Nick said, whatever he said. But yeah, thanks for joining us on another episode. I know there was a lot of confusion at the beginning. This was actually episode 18. Thanks for joining us on episode 18 of Pressing Buttons. We appreciate your support. Come see us in the Discord. And we'll see you all next week on episode 19. Unless I get confused again and I fuck it up. I'm Hugo. Bye.
I'm Nick. Later.